And you travel 10,000 miles to save my life and leave me to be butchered?
I fulfill my vows when I choose to.
Which does not include prayer time, meal time, or any time I'm outnumbered 6-1?
You whine like a mule. You are still alive, enough to listen to this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Reflux capacitors, fluxing, crew to stations. Scanning for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991. Prepare to rewind in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I am your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the master soundboarder, Powers.
Don't worry, Kevin Costner. I can't speak with an English accent either.
Also, for this discussion of the film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, we welcome aboard for the first time an audio and visual creator of books, graphic novels, and podcasts, J.S. Earls. Hey, J.S.
Hello.
Hello.
And Kevin wanted to do an English accent, but they wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
Hello,
what's up with
Guff.
that? Oh, my gosh. And now, well, what about Christian Slayer, though? He didn't have an English. Anyway, we'll get to it later.
Yeah,
now
I know.
that you have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
What? All right. Sure. Robin and Marian was released March 11th, 1976, rated PG, runs an hour and 46 minutes, directed by Richard Lester, written by James Goldman, lead stars being Sean Connery, Audrey Hepburn, and Robert Shaw. The music was composed by John Barry.
Paul?
Yes.
I think you watched the wrong Robin Hood version again.
What?
Yeah.
You told me to watch the Robin Hood with Sean Connery in it. Doesn't it?
Yeah. And also Kevin Costner, Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio. That one.
That could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
All right, fine. I'll go back and watch.
Good. Do it now.
All right. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was released June 14th, 1991, and runs almost 2.5 hours long.
Oh my gosh. How was it that horrible for you, Paul? Are we getting these angsty feelings out now? Continue, please.
Oh, all right. It was rated PG-13. It was directed by Kevin Reynolds and written by Penn Densham, sorry, Penn, and John Watson, with lead stars being Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman, and Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio Banderas, and Alan Rickman. And the music was composed by Michael Kamen. Are you ready for the box office trivia?
I'm ready. Jess, are you ready?
Probably not.
Okay.
I think I watched the Disney Robin Hood too.
Yeah.
What? Dang it.
You have to go
gosh.
back and rewatch the right one.
I actually have to recuse myself from this because in the trivia I saw where this placed. So,
Okay.
Jess, it's up to you and everyone in chat. I see like Apple Dance just got here. Ashley's here. Everyone, all you awesome rewinders are here in chat. Feel free to join in guessing where this placed in the top however many movies Paul says. So go for it, Paul.
All right. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was made for about $48 million and earned around $390 million at the box office.
Whoa.
Given this fact, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in 1991?
Ooh,
Go
okay.
for the top 50.
Top 50. Jess, where do you think it ranks?
I think I'm sitting there trying to think of the different movies and things that came out that time. I'm gonna say like 12.
12. Okay. Decent.
Because I will tell you that because the Bryan Adams song was used heavily to promote this, it got a lot of extra attention.
Absolutely. Yes. Power ballads at their finest.
That thing was everywhere. I wasn't a big MTV or VH1 watcher, but that thing played ad nauseum. I remember seeing that over and over.
I feel like I even saw on the Disney Channel too.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Then in chat, Kennethan guesses 42. Star Fox guessed 30. Apple Dance guesses 37. D-Tongues guessed 17. Ashley says 7. Let's see. Anyone else? Oh, then Apple Dance changed to 19. Make up your mind, Apple Dance. All right. And then let's see, Paul, where did it actually end up?
Well, according to the-numbers.com, Robin Hood Prince of Thieves came in at number 3.
What? I read number 2, but okay.
Well, according to the-numbers.com, Terminator 2 is 1 and Beauty and the Beast came at number 2.
Terminator 2 is number 1? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I know. It's confusing. Terminator 2, number 1.
Oh, yeah. I'm so confused. All right. Well, good on you. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. My goodness. So I guess who was closest then to that?
I think Ashley did.
Oh, did she? What did she say? 7? Yeah,
7.
I guess so. Yes.
She
Good
was the
job.
only one in the top 10. Good job, Ashley.
Good job. And thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice is located. Our target film.
Alert, alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
It was a time of tyrants. A time when the only way to uphold justice was to break the law. A time that made a hero into a legend. Kevin Costner is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, June 14th.
June what?
Yes. You may remember Kevin Costner is Robin Hood, and it was scored with Willow's soundtrack. Wait a second. No, that was just the trailer. But maybe some memories got fuzzy, or they're so clear. But let's find out what we remembered about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in our memory mind meld synopsis. Robin Hood is helped out of a Turkish prison by God, played by Lucius Fox. They then cross over Waterworld to England after dancing with wolves. Wyatt Earp loses his field of dreams to Sheriff Hans Gruber. The joke. So the untouchable leader gathers rebels to fight the wielder of Grepthar's hammer. It's Friar Tuck's line as he's feisty and funny. Meanwhile, Sheriff Rickman kills his cousin to show how ruthless he can be. The bodyguard rescues Maid Marian from Professor Snape and gets knighted by James Bond. Wow, that was all sorts of deceptive. I mean, you got some story beats in there, but those characters are way off. But based on those memories, as flawed as they were, what reign did they lead you to predict for this film before rewatching it? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's start with JS. What was your prediction for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
I wanted to say classic, but I said nostalgic.
Nostalgic for prediction. All right. Paul, how about you?
I remember enjoying this in the theater, so I predicted classic.
Classic. And I remember every time I've seen this previously, I've always really enjoyed it. So I also predicted classic. And it'll be interesting to see if those predictions come true. But first, let's get into our discussion of the things we liked most about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Let's spin up our
Best bets.
And we're going to start with JS. What's one thing you liked about this film?
Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I will say Marianne being Robin's equal.
Okay.
Right.
You like that she was his equal.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't like not in the way that they do it nowadays.
Okay.
Where it's like she pretty much has to one up Robin Hood.
Yes,
if it was done like nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But like at least like before that, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize about this is like before this, I mean, this really broke a lot of the tropes that then other people did like moving forward. So even though they didn't do it as well as they should have necessarily, this was like the bridge. In a way,
she held her own, unlike previous Maid Marian's portrayed, was just like a damsel in distress waiting to be rescued.
Absolutely,
Right.
yeah. Like I appreciate that. Even like when they're having that moment in the party when they're in the. I don't know what they call it. They're in Sherwood Forest, their encampment, whatever, and they're up in the tree talking about different things. And I like their back and forth dialogue, just getting to know each other more. It certainly kindles their romance, but it's like she's asking him very good questions. He's answering best he can, and I think they're certainly intellectually equals and equals in a lot of ways for sure. Okay, that's great, JS. Paul, was Maid Marian something you really enjoyed about this film? Or another character?
I think Mary Elizabeth Antonio Banderas did a good job.
Master Antonio.
Master Antonio Banderas. Sorry. I think she did fine for the role. Oh, interestingly, though, did you know who was originally cast for that role?
I bet you I do. It was, I think, if I can find
cheater,
Imogen Bain, who played Sarah. They were flip flopped. She was going to be the right.
No,
no, Paul. I don't know.
It was actually Robin Wright, the Princess Bride herself.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
And Carrie Elwes was going to be cast as Robin Hood. Yeah.
Men in Tights. Yeah, yes. But Aaron got pregnant and had to back out.
You mean Robin got pregnant?
Sorry, yes. Now you got me all confused. Yeah, Robin Wright got pregnant, had to back out, and then they got married to replace her. So
gotcha.
Just a little fun bit for you.
Yes.
Something that I liked was the story. Just the age-old story of Robin Hood, but just brought together and retold in a fun, fresh way for that time. I thought they did a good job. And one of the producers actually said he had the idea for a few years. He wanted to do Robin Hood, in his words, Robin Hood a la Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, so I could see that.
He wanted a fresh adventure take on it rather than Men in Tights. Not the comedy, but actually, as it was portrayed before, the Errol Flynn days where they were in tights and stuff.
Yeah.
But to bring more realism to the story. And I thought they did a good job with that.
Absolutely. And I think they really captured a lot of that adventurous feel with the score by Michael Kamen. It's so hummable. It's so great. Of course, now as I'm thinking of it, all I can think of is Willow. So, which is really frustrating because I was humming this just earlier today.
Well, they use it in all sorts of award ceremonies. And
Morgan Creek used it for their theme.
Yes, exactly.
Well, they produced this movie, so they're like, "Hey, this is mine now."
Right. They probably signed a waiver at the beginning.
Exactly. In perpetuity.
You are mine now. You belong to me.
Exactly. Is Morgan Creek a Disney company? Like Buena Vista or
I forget the name. I always thought it was Morgan Freeman's company. Morgan.
No,
but that's just a coincidence. I forget the name of the man behind it.
Okay. Well, cool. Okay. So we got Maid Marian, we got the story, we got the music. Let's go back to you, JS. What's something else you enjoyed about this film?
Yeah, I did like the I liked their Friar Tuck version.
Yeah,
where he's been kind of somewhat in different things. He's been either kind of serious or he's been very funny, and this one was kind of a mix of both, which I thought was good. It kind of gave him, and especially even at the end when he confronts the guy that's in
the bishop or something. Yeah, I forget
the bishop or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, it gave him, so he's not just a joke character. I mean, he actually
gave some serious tones.
I thought he's a good I don't even know his name, but
Michael McShane.
Yeah, he did great.
Do you know what? Go ahead. I have a fun tip about it, or a fun fact about him. But
I have a fun fact that's not related to this movie about him, but do you know what anime he's in that we've covered on this podcast, Paul?
Oh my gosh, he's in a lot of things. Tarzan? No, wait.
Anime.
Tarzan. What?
Anime, not animated movie, an anime.
Because since I said Tarzan, the guy who plays Kevin Costner's dad, Brian Blessed, he plays Clayton, the main villain of Tarzan.
Oh,
he does
really?
The voice of him.
Oh, crazy.
So I thought maybe that was a connection that they had going. Anime, I don't know. Canada, Akira, Akira.
No.
Akira.
Do you happen to know, JS? No worries if you don't, because this is a really.
If it's an anime, I usually don't watch the dub. I watch the Japanese version, so I don't.
Good for you, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know.
It is. He played Dee's hand in Vampire & D Bloodlust.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was the voice for him.
All right. So fun fact about Michael McShane.
Yes.
Anyway, he lives in the U.S. mostly, but he tried out for the casting, tried out for the part in L.A. And they passed on it. But he's also well known in the UK for being Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh, really?
So he went over to the UK, did some Whose Line, and then he tried again for their casting out there, and he got the role out there.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh, that's craziness.
So if at first you don't succeed,
go to another country and try again. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I really appreciate his character as well.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, another character or an actor that I thought did a great job was Morgan Freeman. I just loved his no nonsense humor. Like he played the straight man really well. He's also had a lot more going. Like he brought so much history to his character that you never find out about. But there's just so much backstory that I could just imagine he's having go on in his head. He's bringing to it, and you really get that sense for that. And I shouldn't be surprised with Morgan Freeman playing.
Well, but at the same time too, that's where people don't know, but before that, he had never really had roles like that.
Oh, really? Okay. You sort of assumed that looking back. Okay.
He hadn't really done ethnic roles and other things.
Well, he did
that.
Driving Miss Daisy right before it. That's pretty ethnic.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty much set for that. Yeah, but not foreign. In another country or something like that, but where he's where it's really ingrained in his character and his religious beliefs and all that stuff, culturally.
Right.
I mean, obviously it's still cultural,
right?
In Driving Miss Daisy.
Previously, on Electric Company, he was an American.
Right. He was and that's the thing. I mean, he had a lot of really good roles, but they had all been very American. And this was one of the roles that really for him wasn't big because he wasn't the main star or anything, but he just brings such gravitas with to every role that he does. And this was again one of those things where it's kind of like a bridge to what how much he would branch out and everything in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. I never really thought about that, but
I stumbled across that when I was reading through things too, that it was when it said that this was the first time a lot of audiences had really seen him playing a character in another country with different very non-American.
Yeah. And I think he did a fantastic job. He was totally believable as the character Azim. Paul, was there another character you really gravitated to, or some other element of this film you liked?
For my next I just put the cast. I thought it was well-rounded all around. So just to echo what you guys said, and there's a fun little fact about Sean Connery. His appearance in this, the studio at the time, which was Warner Brothers, they had somebody else in mind. I don't know who, but the producer,
Daniel Craig. Pierce Brosnan.
The producer really wanted Sean Connery, but the studio said no.
Are you talking about I think they want him for his dad, right? The role of his dad?
No, to play the king.
Richard
at the end.
They did it. They did actually. There is something about that where they were actually considering him for the dad at one point
instead of Brian Bless.
And they were like, that's gonna be he's too big of a heavy hitter to play his dad.
Oh, I did. Well, in the commentary that I heard from the producers, they didn't mention that. What they did mention is that they really wanted him at least for the king at the end, and even the studio was against that. They said, we have somebody else in mind. So he aggressively went after Sean Connery's agent. And said, look, you're not going to get paid. The studio won't get any money. Won't give me any money to pay you.
Right. I remember
and it's just a day thing. And he happened to be visiting from the Pope. He had one day in England on his way back to the U.S.
Oh, wow.
And they got in touch with Sean, and he's like, look, I can't pay anything, but I think it'll be a good cinematic history moment.
Yes.
And Sean was like, all right. And so,
but somebody did, and I don't know where it came from. They actually sent sent money to like a
Right.
charity, or something
Yeah,
in
so-
Scotland that was related to.
Oh,
Right.
really?
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
so
Yeah.
he did. There was like a base fee, like they pay any actors, like
Yeah.
and Sean wouldn't accept it, and he said give the money to some universities that he supported in that area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
So,
awesome.
Good on you, Sean. May you rest in
Yes.
peace.
Wait, he died?
Didn't he?
What?
Pretty sure.
When did Sean Connery die?
Sean Connery death.
Is that even possible?
October 31st at the age of 90. What year? 2020.
What?
On Halloween Day in 2020? Well, BBC says October 31st, 2020. Yeah.
Oh my God. I had no idea.
Yeah, I think I even posted about it if you check our logs. But anyway. Yeah,
Wow.
2020. He had died at the age of 90.
Okay. Craziness. Okay, well, thanks for bringing this down, Paul, with your
Yeah.
facts. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, he died at night. Okay, well, good on him for making it that long.
Yeah, so I like that about
Jeepers.
Wow. Well, you know what? Let's just keep this going, rolling. This whole talking about the cast and stuff, rolling into classic makers, and I'll just start off with, for me, again, a cast choice for this film, Alan Rickman. Here's my favorite thing about this film, and it's
the spoon.
Not the spoon. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, he did great at improvising. And I think what he was able to do was he brought so much likability and dislikability to the same character. I mean, it's amazing how I enjoyed every second he was on screen. I enjoyed it, but I also was happy when he died. It was this weird dichotomy, which I think you rarely find. So that was my classic maker. JS, what was your favorite thing about watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves this time?
Oh, man.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I have a little fun thing about Alan.
Is this going to be about Alan Rickman?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he actually they reached out to him to do. They had him in mind for the sheriff, and he turned it down twice.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until he learned he was a Whose Line Is It Anyway fan, and he learned that Mike McShane or whatever his name is,
Mike
McShane.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. Was attached, and Morgan Freeman and all these people were starting to get more and more attached. He said, fine, I'll do it if you let free the reins. Basically, let me do what I want with the character. And they were like, yeah, go for it. So third time was a charm. We got Alan Rickman.
So you have to go to another country and you have to try 3 times.
Yeah,
that's what we're learning.
Twice.
Okay,
yes.
okay. Wow. Okay, Jazz, what was your favorite thing?
Yeah, and I will add to that that Alan Rickman too. I don't know if Paul stumbled across this too, but it was interesting. Like he's really good friends with some screenwriters and different people.
Oh, cool.
And he hated a lot of the lines that they wrote for him. Thought they were pretty lame. So he actually had his friends like rewrite some of the stuff.
That's awesome.
And kind of give it more of the wide ranging of the funny and also kind of evil, kind of give that and just really kind of spice it up some.
Oh,
and
sweet.
So he had them do that. And I think those guys were also like very high respect and everything. And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll take that, which is really weird too with like Hollywood, with the way that they do crediting for writers is like just ridiculous because there's so many people that write on things and do different specific things that never get credit. So they get paid. Yeah. But they'll do stuff like that. And I guess I will bring this up now. I don't know if Francisco wanted me to bring it up later.
No, go for it.
But I did a comic called Robin's Sisterhood.
Oh yes.
Years and years ago, with an Argentinian artist, and it's kind of like a futuristic, apocalyptic version, and then they kind of take on the guy who's kind of like, I don't know, was like the leader in the thing, and he takes on and they start kind of really getting into the whole like mythos of like Robin Hood and all this stuff. Oh, cool. So all these different characters and people in it are named after all these different characters. Like there's a girl named Scarlet and there's a girl and they are just all these other like roles. And in it we have like gigantic trees that are like just like, and like Nottingham is on top of like
really?
this huge tree and everything. Like we just did really wild stuff. But anyways, the artist is also a really big film buff, really knows a lot about cinematography and everything. And he would go to a lot of the film festivals there. And right after we finished the comic, he saw Alan Rickman in Argentina and brought him the comic and said, we loved you as the sheriff. And he's like, I just wanted to like show you this, that that we had made this and all this stuff. And he was like showing him, and he was like going through, and he was like laughing. He's like, oh my gosh, like I love this. Like I love like just all of the kind of like the lore that we worked into it, and then all just the sci-fi and all these other like elements, and like but just to actually have kind of like the approval of like it was like, and I think he even took a copy. I think he made kind of a rough like copy of all the pages, and he was like, yeah, I'll take it. It's like I love it and everything. So it was like that was like really cool.
That is totally cool. Wow.
But yeah, that was a really just having that, and it's one of those things where he kind of the artist. I think that was one of the times where he actually called me up from Argentina and was like, "Dude, Alan Rickman likes our comic."
That's like, so cool. Wow,
it was pretty cool. But yeah, I absolutely love his stuff, and I liked. And it's funny that you brought up the Raiders of the Lost Ark thing because I think I had said in something to like Francisco that in a lot of ways, it reminded me of some of like the classic Star Wars movies. Just the wide-ranging balance and the wide range of characters and everything just felt like that. But yeah, as soon as you said the Raiders, it definitely kind of gives me some of those vibes.
Absolutely.
Definitely more like the first and the third one, I guess, than any of the other.
Yeah. Oh, no, this is stuff, totally Temple of Doom, like hardcore Temple of Doom right now.
Yeah. Where they pulling the heart out.
Yeah, when you're with that witch cutting her arm. Oh yeah, totally Temple of Doom.
The extended edition is more Temple of Doom.
Yeah. And that's I did not get to watch, although I actually did buy it because I think I could get it for like $4 or something.
Oh, nice.
The extended edition. And but I wanted to see it because they said that because one of the things they did was they felt like Alan Rickman was upstaging not just Kevin Costner but like everybody else. So they cut a lot of either they cut him short or they cut some of his scenes from the movie.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of his extra stuff made it back into the extended edition. So I am actually
interested to watch that.
I'd like to see that. And it sounded like it would be that it gave it more of a kind of darker tone because of all that stuff. And that's one reason why they did cut it, which I get when you're trying to get that big of a wide audience. And obviously it was successful for 300 million. I mean, that's
and I will say I didn't mention this, but I felt like Kevin Costner was very charismatic in the role of Robin Hood. I thought he did a great job himself. He wasn't quite my classmaker. Alan Rickman sort of. I didn't feel like he upstaged him, but for what he did as a villain, I thought was great. But yeah, Jazz, what resonated with you the most in this film that you liked the most about it?
Man. I mean, just, I mean, honestly, just like overall, because I had seen so many, like other versions of Robin Hood. And yes, actually, I loved the Disney version of Robin Hood too. But a lot of the other stuff, I really, a lot of the other versions, I mean, they were just so far one way or the other. Yeah. And it was just like, Robin Hood Men in Tights, or it was, and honestly, like even like Robin Hood, and this is something we haven't really said, but a lot of times like he was kind of over the top in a lot of the older movies and very flamboyant and all this other stuff. And that was one of the things I liked about, even though I wish they had let him do the accent, which they said they thought would be distracting. And I'm like, I guess if you're only thinking about American audiences, which I mean, back then that's what Hollywood did. They only thought about American audiences. Yeah. But I think I don't know. Like to me, that would have given it more of like an epic feel.
Absolutely,
like they actually had let him do that. But they, I don't know. Hollywood people are weird, anyways. Yeah. But I just really I really liked that it broke a lot of the tropes and stuff that were around Robin Hood without going to the extreme of we're just going to do the absolute opposite of all that.
Absolutely.
Which a lot of times things will do, and just to have that kind of self-control of the way that you're kind of rephrasing and doing this. And I thought, yeah, I mean, and I like more intense, darker stuff.
Sure.
When like I like really being moved and hit in the gut and stuff like that when I see movies and TV shows. Which I'm not really, not that I want to get off on a distraction here, but I'm really not thrilled about the light and bright way they're talking about doing the new Daredevil series with Daredevil on Disney. I'm like, he works because he's dark. I mean, that's what, it's just
Hell's Kitchen.
I don't know.
Let's bring him to Disneyland.
yeah. It's, I mean, just because there is so much behind it and so many other versions of Robin Hood at that time that were especially so different too, that we didn't really have any real serious version of Robin Hood.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I would like to like one of the other Robin. I don't know if you guys do. If you guys saw the more recent Robin Hood movies, but I don't know.
I haven't
really get into them as much.
I think this might be the most recent Russell
Crowe. Don't waste your time.
The most recent Robin Hood movie I've seen. I saw like half an episode of the BBC series of Robin Hood. Yeah, but I never really.
My sister likes that, but I was like, I mean, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
What's his name? Edgerton.
Yeah.
The one with the Jamie Foxx. I thought it was good, but it had potential to be better. I liked it, but there were some things that were great, like the whole why do they call it Robin Hood? I thought they did a great job with that. And there are some other things I thought they did a good job, but other parts of it could have used help.
That's why I was like, is this classic? Because this is about the best version we've had.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll find that out soon, but we need to find out what Paul thinks is the most classic about this film. What's your classic maker, Paul?
Well, for me, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, the best thing about it is the score by Michael Kamen.
Yes.
I have the opening theme that's on my playlist. Unfortunately, the CD that I got it from, it's coupled with Escaping from the Prison, so I kind of stop it halfway in between that one track. I mean, it's fine. But the Maid Marian theme, what's interesting about that, that's a melody it's actually a couple hundred years old. That simple melody.
Oh wow!
That he took and he really infused the orchestra into it and kind of made it his own. Michael Kamen did, and then taking that orchestra piece, he handed that off to Bryan Adams, and Bryan Adams made the theme song from that. So
okay, I was gonna say I thought it was from Bryan Adams' theme song.
So
that he took
a lot of people think that. A lot of people thought, Bryan Adams wrote that music and they incorporated it into the score because they thought it was so good. It's actually the opposite. So it's actually a couple hundred years old, that tune. But
craziness.
Yeah, it's still a good theme.
He's related to the Kamen writers, right?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, and then the Power Rangers took up the mantle after that. Oh my gosh. Wow. Anyway, okay, so that was your favorite thing, Paul?
Yeah.
I think it's time to talk about maybe the things we didn't like so much, though. Yeah. Sorry, guys, there's something really important. I need one more thing I like that I neglected. Yes, that I neglected to say, and that is the Cellcast. The Cellcast, hosted by Jacob and Drew, review animated movies and TV shows, discussing what they appreciate about the medium in whatever form it takes. Whether it is traditional hand-drawn animated movies, claymation shorts, or a 3D CGI series, check out some animated reviews when you subscribe to the Cellcast at thecellcast.podbean.com. And don't forget, Cell is spelled C-E-L at thecellcast.podbean.com.
That's great, Francisco, and so is the Cellcast, but what do they have to do with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, live action? It's like them reviewing Tron Legacy or something. What does that have to do with Cell? I know.
Legacy.
They just reviewed it last night. That's why I bring it up.
No, not C-E-L-L Apple Dance. C-E-L. One L.
Like Robin Hood at the beginning was held in a cell. But not that cell.
No, not that cell. So the reason the cell cast is like it is because you got Drew and Jacob, two guys that are like thick as thieves, you might say, in animation, and Robin Hood and Azim are become thieves in this because they steal from the sheriff of I was about to say Ryanham of Nineham. Yeah,
because they're thick as thieves.
So that's how it's connected, Paul. Is that good?
Yeah, sure, right. Yeah. What?
Okay, fine. Forget that. How about some trivia about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Would you prefer that?
Much better, thank you.
All right. Did you all realize that most of the songs the characters, and Paul actually spoke to this a second ago, most of the songs the characters sing and hum within this movie are actual medieval melodies. For example, the song Friar Tuck sings when you're introduced to his character is set to the tune of a song called Bacca Bene Venus. I'm going to totally mispronounce that. From the 13th century Codex Buranus. So my question to you all is, what song or tune does your mind sort of default to singing or humming whenever you're feeling, whenever you're absentmindedly just humming something? Is there a song or tune that your mind sort of defaults to? Let's start with Paul.
Usually it's like a song I heard 3 days ago, whatever that was. So, but if I had to pick one of that's more consistently in my head than others, I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe, What Would You Do with the Drunken Sailor?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Drunken Sailor. Okay, yeah, I could see that. Nice
little tune. Nice little ditty.
How about you, Jess?
I would say some of it has to do with what I've heard recently, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I was in a Christian rock band for 10 years, and
awesome.
I've also done some professional music. So a lot of times, depending upon my mood, it will bring back like one of those tunes or something that I created or was involved with.
Yes, that totally makes sense.
And did that it just kind of, so I'll end up like doing that and thinking those things. And like, and it really just depends because like my son and I, there's this one song that I and it's like it was like kind of like a really cool, but like drum heavy, worship song thing, but I actually got the rhythm from our windshield wipers.
Really?
Oh my
gosh!
So every time they come on, it's that song.
It's like it'll take me back to that. But it's funny because my son was like the same, and he's a drummer, and so we were like, but it just had a really cool. It was like, and I was like, oh, you know what? And then kind of started like humming melodies and stuff with it.
So does the song speed up and slow down depending on what setting you have your windshield wiper on?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly true.
And did you have to pay royalties to GM for that?
No, because we tune it different, so it's a slightly different.
They auto-tune
key, and as long as you do the 33% change, then it's enough for you to own
perfect.
it.
Okay,
so,
fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh my
gosh, GM couldn't handle their lawyers.
Here in chat, we had some responses that are interesting. Kennethan says Gone with the Wind. I don't even think I've never seen Gone with the Wind, so I have no idea how the music goes. D-Tung says right now think of Jurassic Park theme, but that's not typical. It's more for him. I think he's saying Robin Hood theme in Jurassic Park. Okay. For me, it's actually the Spark Mandrill stage from Mega Man X. Were
you stuck on that stage a lot?
No, it's just really good, Paul.
Wow. Otherwise, you'd hate that song.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
All the trauma coming back. No.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
All right. Great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
And now that we've all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Indeed. First from locals, Kennethan says, saw it on VHS back in the day. Just having Kevin Costner in it makes it nostalgic.
Okay, he brought up the VHS, and I wanted to bring this up earlier. In the VHS, during the credits, the Bryan Adams theme music video plays during the credits. And
right.
I'm like 90% sure. I could be mistaken, but I thought I remember in the theater seeing the Bryan Adams.
I think you're right. Yep.
Music video during the credits and thinking, wow, it's played everywhere. And if the people are going to see it, even when they go to the movies. So, but in all the iterations now, it still plays, but it's just white text on black background, no music video. And in fact,
so they actually had the music video in the theatrical version.
With the credits going over it while the song is playing, you can still hear it.
Mm-hmm.
But all the iterations now, whether it's streaming on video, it's just white text on the black background, no video with it.
Uh-huh.
And I was just wondering, so I wonder if there's like a rights issue, because
that's what I was thinking.
Even with the distribution, like the special features on the Blu-ray, it comes with the music video, but it's not the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves version with them singing in the forest. It's Bryan Adams in a concert with all the people around singing. And like even on YouTube, the video has like 400 plus million views, but it's not what we saw over and over at nauseum.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
right.
So it's really weird.
Yeah, but I think that makes sense that it's a rights issue.
So
for sure.
It's weird, but anyway. So on to Facebook and what you our Rad Rewinders had, what you guys remembered. Drew Dodgen said, quote, we're men in tights. We run around the forest looking for, wrong movie.
Wow, Drew. Stanley Wright says, Bryan Adams, just kidding. A great remake of Disney Robin Hood. Wow, I don't think it was meant to be that.
No, that's why he has the laughing emoji behind it. Kevin Joshua Burnham says, Alan Rickman's performance is the only reason to watch this movie. Other than that, this movie was advertised to death everywhere. Billboards, cereal boxes, kids' toys, video games, you name it. It was there. The only way to tell the separate audiences between the American or UK version was the Prince of Thieves add-on title. Both of them are mediocre now. Interesting.
I didn't realize Prince of Thieves was added on to the title. Okay, cool. James Felix says, why a spoon, cousin? Why not an axe? Or because it's dull, you twit, it will hurt more.
Adam Cooling says, I remember Adam Collings. Sorry, Adam Coolings. You have to go to the back of the line. Adam Collings says, I remember it was a huge deal. I liked it. Oh, I'll tell you what I really remember the most is that cool Sean Connery cameo at the end.
Yes, indeed. John Haryu says, seen in the theaters. That's what you remember. Okay.
Yeah. Becky Williams says, quote, no blades, no bows. Leave your weapons here.
Patrick Edwards, also in kind, says, no blades, no bows. Leave your weapons here. Quote this line to myself almost every time I go through a security checkpoint.
That'd be funny if you came across a security checkpoint and they were doing that. Kristen Rish Victor says, quote, there once was a prince from Nottingham who tried to cross the river. What a dope. He tripped on a rope. Now look at him shiver.
Pray for mercy, rich man. Dustin Warford says, you know it's true. Everything I do it for you.
There's no... Wardell White says, I remember having wild times watching this in theaters. Classic maker, Bryan Adams, everything I do it for you. Tragic maker, it's a teeter-totter between the sheriff trying to force himself on Maid Marian or the sight or sense of Morgan Freeman's character is like kryptonite to the witch. They tried to make it a comical thing, but I don't think it was funny either way. They were eye rollers for me.
All right. Philip Hurd says, thought it was amazing back in the day, and the last time I revisited the film, it was still good, just not great.
Aaron Wallace says, Alan Rickman is a legend in this film.
Michael Fraley says, I remember the last time I started watching this movie, my wife came home in the middle of the film, looked at the screen and said, why? Followed by soon after, can we please turn on something else? I never got around to finishing the movie. I can't say I'm sad about it. And then, right? And then here live in chat, D. Tungsten says, I remember the Bryan Adams music being annoying, but I got used to it. All right. Let's see. Kevin says, I don't recall that on the VHS. I don't own this movie. All right. You already gave us a memory, Ken. Let's see.
Yeah, you read it
but he
anyway.
also remembered Blockbuster Rental. This was after my third born came, so we were not in the theaters. That's fair. Yeah, D. Tungsten also remembers seeing the movie back in the day, not in the theater, and don't remember the credits being over the music video. I remember hating on the advertising of the movie and begrudgingly watching it and liking it. Okay, one memory a person, guys. Come on now. All right. Anyway, thank you all so much for sharing your memories. And I feel like Michael Fraley's comment sort of leads us into things we don't like about the movie. What would cause us to turn it off halfway through? So let's get into our
Worst woes.
Yeah, those worst woe things we don't like about this film. And I'll kick things off. And that's with... Dang it, Paul, every time. And this, maybe I'm giving too much credit to Robin Hood, Kevin Costner, Robin of Locksley, his character in this version of the film. But
yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Why is it they do all this planning
Because
they make
it'll
all these
hurt more.
swords, all these bows and arrows. They do a great montage of them like getting upskilled and leveling up, all the woodsmen, everything. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They do all that planning. And they use fire arrows themselves. You'd think they'd think, okay, maybe if they find us, they'll bring fire arrows. Maybe we should have a fallback position, maybe in a cave or something with a choke point. So why is it not like everyone? Oh, we're found out. Make your way to the fallback position. No. Oh my gosh, I guess we're just toast now.
Yeah,
So
I'll attempt to answer that.
Okay,
I don't think they were ever. They didn't have a fallback position because they didn't think they would ever be found out. That's why there's all the secret, like,
yeah. But
there's another. They were in the best spot to create, their little village, and plus, what fallback position could you? What if they attacked from the fallback position?
That's a good point, Paul. Well, that's why I said like a cave. You're not going to come out of a cave to attack them. You're going to come from
There's no caves in the forest.
Yeah,
well, maybe they should dig one down into the earth. Ever think about that? But Jess, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, it's a forest, so there wasn't a lot of. I mean, they have trees. They could have built something in the trees.
Yeah, they should build a second village and fall back to that.
I think it was a village on top of theirs. That was the second one that they burned with it.
Okay. It was a small quibble. That's why I thought I'd open. Jess, what's something you didn't care for about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Your smallest quibble about it.
My smallest quibble is probably, which I understand too, and especially like once I kind of was looking back at all this stuff and just seeing how they only had like days to film and in between him doing all the other stuff. But I kind of
they only had 4 months
hated how fake some of the sets looked.
Really?
Not necessarily the sets themselves, but like the background, especially like when they escaped the jail. I mean, you can totally tell.
Oh, okay. I was like, I have behind me as like my background this forest and water. I'm like, I don't think that's a sound stage. I think that's real.
Yeah.
No, when they escape from the cell though, and
in
like
Turkey,
in Turkey, and you just see behind. I mean, it just looks totally like. And there's a couple scenes and things like that it was so obvious. That it kind of like those things kind of pull me out.
I could see that
when I see, but at the same time too, I mean, I don't know, like it kind of has a little bit of a stage play vibe to it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Not a lot, but so I don't think it's like the worst, but I kind of hate that when I see that in films.
But what's impressive is they didn't use any special effects, After Effects, green screen, or even matte paintings.
Right.
It was all practical.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it has that some of that play stage feel to some of those scenes.
I will say the exteriors of the castles looks great. The interiors felt
well. That's because
they
all are because they're all real, and
those were all real.
Are on stages. They built.
Yeah,
those.
so that's why I felt like there was almost. It felt manufactured. I know castles are they're made. I'm not saying they're like organically created. But,
you mean?
Yes, recently manufactured. Exactly.
yeah. Which is funny because it's like the outside is like hundreds of years old.
Yes,
and the inside is like 20.
It may
20
be 50
days
years old at the oldest.
So yeah, I can totally see how that would take you out. That sort of like that. I already used dichotomy today, but that sort of that contrast,
juxtaposition.
Yes, exactly. Paul, was there something that contrasted against all the likes that made this like stand out as something you didn't like?
No, I'll go with a better transition. My smallest quibble about this film is a small thing. I didn't understand how when Maid Marian is first introduced, she is basically a guard trying to shoo Kevin Costner's Robin Hood out. And he fights back, and then she's slashing the sword, or dagger, knife, trying to kill him. Like any one of those slices could have hit a jugular, or it could have been lethal. So she's trying to kill him. Yeah. And he's fighting, and it's not till like he is able to grasp her hand and kind of take control of the situation, and it's revealed that she's Maid Marian.
Yes.
So right after she's trying to kill him for whatever reason, maybe she didn't like him as a child. Who knows?
Yeah, I get that from that he bullied her and burned her hair. Yeah.
So let's kill this punk. And then it fades into like, an exterior shot, music played, people walking by, and then they're sitting next to each other, just them by themselves, and they're talking, and she's not trying to shank him anymore. She's not trying to kill him. I'm like, what's going on? Why introduce this female character as trying to kill him, and then literally 3 seconds later they're chummy? I don't
think 3 seconds literally passed in that. She has to disrobe her bodyguard armor.
Our viewing.
Well, yes, I know that, but
as the viewer, I guess that transition, that faded transition in the music really helped, because most people don't even notice or are not questioning, like, what the heck happened to the motivation behind this?
It's those 35-year-old hormones kicking in.
Oh,
yeah, of course, yes.
See, if they were teenagers, you'd be like, okay, yeah. I mean,
you look kind of hot for a 30-year-old.
Wow. But that's a good point, Paul. I never really thought about that, though. It seems like there'd be a lot more like caginess on her part, especially if she's willing to kill him.
Right.
I mean, I would assume she can recognize him, that is Robin, even through fighting. So it seems like a little
doesn't make sense.
They were a bit too chummy. I could see him being like, both wanting to protect her because that was the promise he made, and also feeling attraction. I could see all that on his side. I can't really see it from her at that point in the movie, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that's totally fair. Let's go back to JS. What's something else you didn't like, JS?
Trying to think. I have like 5 things, so I'm just trying.
I hear you.
Not the worst.
I know it's hard to choose. I have like a whole menu of dislikes here myself.
Oh my gosh, you guys!
Well, and this is, I guess some of the corniness that I felt like didn't really serve the film. I mean, it does if you want a certain vibe, because like even with some of the classic like Star Wars and Indiana Jones stuff, like there's a little bit of corniness.
Absolutely,
and it's like I kind of wish that they didn't.
I agree. There are parts in it that are just way too over the top or corny. Trying in the name of humor, it's a little too much.
What? Can you guys name an example?
Like the telescope. he's looking through the he knows they're like a mile away, and he looks through the telescope and he's trying to hit them with his sword, even though he knows they're a mile away. Yes, it's supposed to be funny, but it's still over the top. It doesn't make sense. It's corny.
It makes sense to me. But I guess I'm simple that way, guys. How your kind ever took Jerusalem, I'll never know. Anyway, go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, but I think you're probably more into the. It's easier to get into the retro vibe for you, probably, and be like, okay, I'm gonna watch this as if it was like back then.
Yeah.
No, I just watch it as I am now. I'm just a child at heart.
Okay,
1991.
There's stuff like that. Yeah, there's stuff like that, and it's funny. Ben Avery and I will have a lot of talks about different things, and he can totally like watch stuff that like it is really hard for me to get through now that has not aged well.
Sure, yeah.
And so some of that, yeah, exactly. Like when he said, I mean, there's certain things that are just played so far. It's like, okay. It's like I was into the movie until you took me out of it.
Man, that's a bummer. Okay, but I can see that. I can totally understand that. Was there anything specific that like comes to mind for you? Was it the telescope thing? Was it something else, or is it just there's just
a few different things. Like even though like I liked the Friar Tuck thing, I mean, there's a couple like little things they had him do, which now that I know that he was on Whose Line Is It Anyways makes more sense. Might,
like him like gnawing his leg. I was like, really, dude?
Yeah, which I mean, it's funny, but it's like,
it's a bit much for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, what's something else you didn't like about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
This is almost my tragic maker.
Wow. Okay.
But I'm gonna say Kevin Costner.
What?
Oh my gosh! First of all,
you better have a better person in mind for this role after this. That's not Carrie Elways, but continue.
Harrison Ford.
Okay. First of all,
really odd.
Kevin Costner, he comes. That's weird that they didn't want him speaking in English accent because on the commentary they said they had a vocal coach. So, and just because he is so American in this, but there are parts of it that maybe were filmed early on that that you could tell he's trying to speak in an English accent. For example, this line here I'm about to play. Listen to the way he says horse and purse and truly and hope so. He gives it this like English accent when when he robs one of the rich people.
It's a hot day, my friend, to burden your horse with such a heavy purse. I truly hope so.
Okay, so there it's almost like he's got an English thing, but that kept coming in and out throughout the movie, little bits.
Yes.
And then you have other things that's completely American, like
that way. You are sure? I would know blindfolded. I'm 5 miles from home.
He's so American, he calls it miles, not kilometers.
I totally missed that. Did they use?
I was going to say, I don't think it would have been kilometers back then.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been, but I don't know if it would have been miles. It'd be leagues.
It wouldn't be miles, though.
I could say, I think leagues would probably be what they would say. But
well, anyway, it's just, he's like, in this movie, he totally phoned it in. He had like one note. Actually, he had 3 notes. It was all middle, and then slightly above, he was like, "Oh, he's happy about something," and slightly below that is, "Oh, he's sad about something." And it was right in this middle range that it was just. That's why I say he phoned it in. I mean, here you have.
I don't get that at all. I felt like he gave a lot of like subtlety and subtext. But, all right.
Yeah, there's so much subtlety right in the middle range throughout the whole thing.
Exactly, Paul. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. He's steady.
Yes. Okay. So let's take it towards the end when Christian Slater comes back and warns them, "Hey, there's going to be a hanging." This is Christian Slater, 21 years old. He's he has a good act. In my opinion, this is one of his best acting moments in all his movie career, and he's a much better actor than
he's given credit for.
than Kevin Costner in this whole film.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
But I mean, he's done Heathers. He has a good thing behind him. He had just done.
He's on The Wizard.
Yeah, he did The Wizard like a year or two before. Yeah, he was playing
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my gosh,
it's so bad.
But just Kevin Costner in this role was. Now here's the weird thing: Kevin Costner is a leading man. Like if you put Christian Slater, who was acting better, right next to Kevin Costner playing like the role he did, both wanted to lead, I would choose Kevin Costner. There's some X factors about him.
Yes, exactly.
I don't understand what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would choose him. But I mean, come on, he got paid how much? Let's bring a little more emotion to some of these things. It's just
I guess I felt that emotion. I don't know why I did. I was charmed by him, but that's a fair estimation.
I think he's a fine guy, but I'm not charmed as much as these other people.
Well, I think someone like you mentioned Harrison Ford. Yes, I feel like Harrison Ford has a lot more charisma than Kevin Costner. I'm trying to think of other like leading men, say, that I feel like Robert Downey Jr., another person that I feel like has a lot more charisma. But I feel like Kevin Costner did a good job in this role. Who would you have preferred to see in this role, Paul?
Well, you took my answers. Carrie Elways. Let's bring let's bring the Princess Bride crew in and let's see how they do it.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Well,
this is remake
Paul,
Princess Bride, guys.
Paul, I do have a trivia. I have a fun fact for you. Christian Slater actually made the name of Mr. Robot after Kevin Costner.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's,
because of how well he acted. Very Robot.
How well he acts. Yeah.
Who's Mr. Robot?
It's a TV
That's a TV show that Christian Slater's on.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm joking.
But... Oh, okay. Jeez.
That's funny.
Wow. Real quick, this just in. Beep, 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 beep. Kenneth says, by a decree of the 8th of May, 1790, the French National Constituent Assembly ordered the French Academy of Sciences to develop a new measurement system. Okay, so this takes place in
but this is 1400s or 1300s.
Yeah, exactly, which is why the meters and all that would not be the measurement system. That's what he's trying to say.
All right, fine. I know the miles. Some people say it was developed like 500 or 600 years ago. Other people say, well, the Romans used it. I don't know.
Whatever. But you're right. I feel like miles might be, I could see how that seems
fine,
very American.
But no one could deny he talked with an American accent. Raised in England.
United Statesian accent? Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Are we still on this topic?
Yeah.
Who? Give me a name, Paul. Give me a name.
Carrie Elways.
Not Carrie Elways. You have to pick someone else.
All right, give me time.
Serious name.
He is.
Okay.
You think
about
charming.
You think about Paul while I go to my last dislike before we get to Trash Makers. So the thing that I didn't like, and this sort of goes off of, goes back to Maid Marian and her maid servant, I think, Sarah. I forget what a term for her is. But I don't understand why they get to the forest movement of Endor. No, the forest hideout of Robin Hood and his woodsman band of people. They get to them and she's like, oh well. Robin's like saying, oh, you can't leave now because you know the way here, and she's like, oh well, me and Sarah were blindfolded, and he's like, oh darn it, struck out there. But okay, so that's fair. But then why do they have to go back on a boat when they could just be blindfolded again? I don't get this. Why is it different?
Why? Who cares? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
No, I need it to be the same. I need you to take the same route, blindfolded, back.
No, you wouldn't do that.
Why not?
Because then it would be easier for them to figure it out.
How? They're blindfolded. This isn't Sneakers. They don't have audio cues of ducks in the background. I know there's a deep cut for Sneakers, but come on, guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I think
All right.
I think it's fine.
Like I said, maybe I'm showing my cards here with just these minor quibbles of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. But Paul, do you have a lean man?
Yes, Rick Moranis. No, I'm joking.
Oh my gosh!
No, it would be interesting
because good is dumb.
No, I think Rob Roy, Liam Neeson might have done
Oh
a good
my
job
gosh.
Yeah.
That's a great take.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson, yes.
Back
all right.
then.
All right. You know what?
but can do an American accent.
I think that's the point.
Good point. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that's a great take. Okay. Let's get to the things that were the worst though about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. We wish they could steal it back. We could steal our time back from this movie because of these things. Let's begin with JS. What did you hate most about this film?
I would say a few things, but I would say definitely the worst is the attempted rape scene.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair.
I just...
You think he should have committed fully?
Oh my God.
I think it was...
Wow.
I think it was... And this is... It's funny because some of the things that Paul has said and different things like online, I'm like, oh man, if Paul and I were in more things together, we would get in a lot of trouble. Because
I like to stir the pot
anybody
a little,
that has watched Playing Games Live knows that sometimes some of my jokes are a little edgy and they get cut.
Oh, okay.
And it's just because it's just kind of like there, and I'm like, and I just
do you ever tell
and
jokes?
then the cast is like, no.
Do you ever tell jokes about how dogs should be killed by being dissolved into sand?
Not
Francisco's all about killing the dog, the horse,
because they always want to save the dog. I'm so tired of Hollywood thinking, we got it. The kids can die. All the humanity can die, but we gotta save that dog. No, I'm tired of it. The dog dies, the cat dies, the humans live.
Everybody dies to raise the stakes.
Yeah. And I'll just say I remember being in the theater, but also other times when I have like watched it with other people, it gets a little cringy.
I could see that.
Scene like with the it's just because but the hard thing is, and this is one like as a storyteller, as somebody who does these kinds of things.
Yeah, how'd you raise those stakes if you're
and the thing is, like, if you kind of play it off, then you're kind of like making rape a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's a really tough line.
Yes, absolutely.
To do, and I'll say this is because this is one of the things that happened with me with one of my stories, which is about like child abuse and molestation and stuff like that. And we tried to like not show a lot.
Yeah.
But then like the two main complaints we got, like from one publisher, was there wasn't enough like shown to justify like the story or whatever, and then the other side was there was too much shown. And I was like, so then it's just right.
Yeah, exactly right.
Because it's like it's kind of like there, and it's just it's a rough thing to do when you deal with a more serious like thing, and you don't want to make it a joke.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
And the producers, they called in a number of people to overlook this, like from the studio, to try to get different perspective. What is the most family friendly? Because they want family in it, but to still try to relay what's going on, like because push that envelope. And you still think they pushed it too far? It's too.
Well, I just think for the people, and it's probably because, just because of the different people or these specific females or whatever that I have like seen it with or have been around when it, and that they're kind of like, it's like, I don't know, just it was a little bit for that kind of a film that was more like an Indiana Jones thing, even though Indiana Jones has kind of pushed it with some, different stuff, but still it's just one of those, but at the same time too, it's like, that's supposed to be cringy.
Yeah, it is, because like this is the villain doing this, you want a reason to kill him.
Exactly.
Because I feel like up till then, I don't know if Alan Rickman's, I mean,
that's definitely.
No, he killed Robin's father. He deserves to die.
But that takes place. That's so like at the beginning of the film, and even hanging all those people. He's not like doing it himself, like just.
Well, he's in
tearing out the entrails.
If Hitler never killed anybody personally,
exactly, Paul. Okay. That's exactly what I'm saying. Except it's not at all.
Sounds exactly like it.
Oh my God.
Hitler. Okay.
In the context of this film, I feel like you really needed a good reason to kill him.
Oh.
Speaking of killing people that aren't necessarily justified, though, great segue, I will say, is for me, my tragic maker is actually that. Okay, well, I'll set this up because I love in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, they have a Christian character that isn't just totally corrupt, just the worst ever, totally inept, nothing. They have Friar Tuck, which is, I love that I think he's a great, he's not a lay character because he's a man of the cloth and I don't know where friars sort of rank in that or what like vows they have to take or whatever, but he's above the laity. And he's also like, he has his own like issues. He's like, he is, I hate saying racist. I like saying ethnicist, but he has preconceived notions about Azim.
I think it's more the religion.
Exactly. He thinks if you don't believe in Christ, you're like, or you're not Christian, you must be a heathen and you're not to be trusted at all. He has prejudices for sure. But he's also like, he tries to save the kids. He's trying to say how good God is because of beer. I mean, there's a lot. I feel like he's a well-rounded Christian perspective.
Well-rounded.
I didn't mean it that way. I mean, yeah, that's right. I'm that punny. But the thing and then you have that juxtaposed to the bishop character, which is a very corrupt Christian character, which is more common of what you see in Hollywood film making and storytelling. So I hated, though, that they took this character and they had Friar Tuck kill the bishop. I would have much rather him been imprisoned, sent into the dungeon, to all his gold stolen away and given out to all the poor or something. I just feel like his death was not justified, especially by the character that we're setting up to be the sort of the Christian character. So I didn't like
the bishop who was in coercion with all the killings and the death. Should have been killed because he was just on the wrong side.
No, he should not have been killed is what I'm saying. He should have been in prison for his life or something like that.
Oh, I see.
I don't think having our Friar Tuck kill this person essentially in cold blood when he's like defenseless essentially is a great look.
Mob mentality. It all builds and then all of a sudden there's a lot of killing going on and everybody's killing everybody. I couldn't help it. I just got caught up in it.
I'm sorry. The purge is going on. What was I thinking? Just the wrong day.
But I mean, technically, he didn't kill him. He just pushed him off the window.
That's true.
Gravity killed him.
I mean, the ground that killed him.
Not my fault. God created laws like that.
He needed to rotate in the air and like land on the money. Then he would have survived.
Wow. Yeah, just like Scrooge McDuck, just dive, like throw those money bags down and dive into them. Yeah, that's how you do it. Oh my gosh! So that was my tragic maker. That leaves Paul. What did you hate most about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Well, we're reviewing the theatrical version.
Yes,
but I also this is kind of a cheat, but I'm
okay.
I
hate that director's commentary.
Which is only available on the extended edition. My tragic maker is the extended edition of this film. Because there's so many things.
So don't watch it. Okay, go ahead.
But unfortunately, it's the only thing available on Blu-ray or any disc out now.
Oh, okay.
You can find it on DVD, but nobody wants to watch 480 if they have to. It's the only thing streaming. You can't, when you try to buy it on streams, what I mean is people who are selling it for streams. Like Apple,
Amazon.
It's all you can't find the theatrical. It's only streaming on HBO Max right now that they have the regular, which I think
that's what I watched. Yeah.
So at least there's that available, but like if you want to buy it for yourself, it's It's the only thing available, which is not good because I personally don't think it's like if we reviewed the extended edition, I guarantee almost all my dislikes would be in the extended because it's way darker. Some of the plot points don't make sense. And even then it's going too far that it distracts from the overall story. It's like, why is that? So just the extended edition, I think Warner Brothers was wise to cut that out. And I think it's a better movie for it. So my Tragic Maker, some people love the extended edition. I'm one of those that says no thanks.
Okay. And you're not like opposed to all extended editions, I believe.
No. Usually I'm like, hey, the more the better. You know, give me the 12-hour Dune or 18-hour Dune as an option. Don't say, the only version of Dune out there is the 18-hour one. Like, give us an option.
Gotcha. You know? Okay. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that the extended edition, essentially being you being shoehorned into getting the extended edition, is your Tragic Maker.
Right. And I don't like that version compared to the theatrical.
Sure, I get that. All right. So, it's kind of like you can only get the Star Wars. You can't get the original version of Star Wars. You can only get the remastered one.
Yeah.
These days.
But
I feel like it's kind of like that.
Look.
Okay.
Wink,
all right.
wink. Kind of like HBO Max. You can if you know where to look.
Sailing the high seas. I gotcha.
Yeah,
anyway, now that we've entered all our targeting information into the firing computer, Alice, you have a firing solution for us.
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo at the ready. On your mark.
Salvo authority.
That's right. Time for the moment of truth, and it's salvo at the ready, Paul. How many years have we been doing this?
I'm trying to get my salvo authority ready.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, do we rate Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves a classic? We'd recommend anyone go out and see this film, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, if you watched it as a kid or young adult, give it a rewatch now if it's been like a long time. Definitely worth your time to revisit it. But if you've never seen it before, probably go watch another version of Robin Hood. Or do we rate it a tragic? It's not worth anyone's time. If you have never seen it before, definitely keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. So we'll start with our guest, JS. What is your final reign for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? You had predicted nostalgic. Did it end up there or go up or down?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, definitely nostalgic. But at the same time, like I said earlier, I don't like if someone said, I want to watch Robin Hood TV show, movie, like whatever, I would probably recommend this one.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's just, but it's not, I still think that there is a better Robin Hood to be made.
I agree with that.
Yes, absolutely. But of what we have now, this is it. But it's still not such a great movie in general that you would make it a classic.
You need to get the Foxy version.
Foxy? Oh my gosh, Paul. What is your final reign? And then we'll go to our Rewind Republic.
All right. So just so that you know, when I finished watching the movie, I had one thing listed on my like and about 20 dislikes listed.
And you had predicted classic for this.
I predicted classic.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But would I recommend it to somebody? Yeah. I think despite all those 20 things, I would still recommend it. Like, it's a good, fun adventure movie. Now, I don't highly recommend it. I barely recommend it.
Right.
So it barely makes my classic rating. And it's not one that certainly, if you watch it once, like, wait for it to, let it simmer a bit. Don't watch it for a while before you watch it again, kind of a thing, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, if you've never seen it, I recommend giving it a watch.
Okay. Now, if we go to our Rewind Republic, I'm just going to double check the votes here. And according to them, if I average them together and or just take the votes as they are, they all rate Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves collectively nostalgic. So that leaves 2 nostalgics and a classic. And once you know, I rated a classic. So we're tied, dang it. So
womp
womp. Yeah, I was gonna say, give me that Back to the Future 3 drop, Paul. So, this is sort of unprecedented. So, you know what? Francisco from the future, I'm sure you figured just something out by now. What is our final reign for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Yeah. I wish I could say I had a great solution to this, Francisco from the past, but the best I could do was average everything together. And with averaging the classics and the nostalgics, we rate Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves a disputed nostalgic film. So we recommend if you enjoyed it as watching it growing up or sometime in the past, yeah, go check it out. But if you've never seen it before, probably pass on this one and go seek out another Robin Hood or another movie that is a classic. All right, back to Francisco and crew from the past. Yeah, see, that's the way I guess it should have panned out, all in all. Oh my gosh, Paul. Anyway, now it's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX?
Comsat online. Receiving incoming transmission.
Feels good to be back, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1991 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Ruiz, Kennethan, Fabulous Lomax, Rosie Lomax, That's Our Babo, D. Tungsten, Dale, Mr. Lost, Gerald Hafner, Cool Deluxe, and newest supporter, Redeemed Otaku, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to keep us flying and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
What makes this day just a little bit brighter is knowing that this stream is sponsored by pauljpowers.com.
There we go. And while we're thanking people, we want to give a big Friar Tuck hug.
Yes, Friar Tuck hug.
To J.S. Earls, and for supporting us with his thoughts about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves tonight.
Indeed.
So, J.S., where can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on?
I have way too many things going on.
All right, well, where can people find you where you got cool things going on first?
Yeah, the best places to find me are on Facebook, honestly. And I would say, like, if it's specifically me, Facebook, also my Patreon, patreon.com/JSEarls. I'm also semi-active on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a few of the other podcasts and things, the Playing Games with Strangers, the Supersonic stuff, hoping to finish out soon.
Come on. For people who are unfamiliar, can you give like a small little, like 1 or 2 sentences about each that describes it? So that.
Playing Games with Strangers is a family-friendly D&D podcast, pretty much. With the great thing is that it's done with a bunch of our Supersonic pod comics actors.
Yes.
And that was one of the reasons why we started it. Actually, it was birthed from the pandemic and just wanting to do something fun and just to be a little bit more silly and put things out for people. And then it's kind of gone on for many episodes now. And there is a playinggameswithstranger.com website where there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of talented people involved with it. A lot of them will kind of push things towards me, but they're really very artistic and very creative, and it's a blast for that cast, and we have a lot of fun, and that's why we do it. I am a producer on the new Sithrah podcast, Sithrah, which also features Josiah Crandall as the kind of director, and I write the adaptation of that. It's been a smash hit,
cool.
hit webtoon from Jason Brubaker, who is kind of like one of the lead artists on the and designers for Kung Fu Panda.
Mm-hmm.
He worked on a bunch of stuff. He did Pitch Black, and he's on a whole ton of other stuff. But very cool Christian guy, and a very cool story. Anybody that likes like Miyazaki, and if you're also like a Christian, you would like this because it's kind of like a Christian Miyazaki story or a Western, as in American Miyazaki story. It's very artistic and but like the production on it and stuff is awesome. It just got done. Anybody who really likes sharks, or you kind of like the Meg movie, I'm the designer on the. Well, I also wrote the graphic novel version that's based on the book, not the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is very different from the book.
Oh, interesting.
But the book series now I think has about like 6 or 7 novels in it, and they're getting ready to do a big classic version with like leather covers and everything. I'm actually the designer on that
for the Meg?
And designing a lot of those things. Yeah, and actually you'll see. I never complained about it, but like my name tends to show up first. Yeah.
So just on Amazon search,
and I'm
Meg,
like, no, you take that down. You take my name off the first. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not saying nothing to nobody. But yeah. And I do have some novels and novellas and other things I did. Anybody that really likes, which I highly recommend, the stuff that I enjoyed doing the most was graphic novel adaptations of 5 different Ted Dekker graphic novels.
Oh, wow.
Those are really, really good. They're really hard to find and come by, and they haven't released them. But if you can, and there's also like a collected volume, they call it like the visual edition. Those are really, really good. One of them, I would say the Lost Books, Ted Dekker Lost Books.
Okay, graphic novels.
Yeah,
okay.
And it will be. It's actually not one of my favorite covers that they use for it. I wonder if.
That's those
are the novels. Well, and you can find like when you go. I'm trying to see. Yeah, they're kind of like most of these things are like. I mean, they haven't been in print for a while.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
but they were when the stuff actually came out, especially because he did a Circle trilogy that they call kind of like the cross between. The Matrix and Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
Which is a pretty good explanation.
That sounds amazing. And like no one can live up to that explanation.
Exactly. And that's why, and I mean, the cool thing is, and I did like it when he did it, is that it, like every chapter, which gets a little crazy, but most of the first, novel and the graphic novel version and some other stuff, but it usually like every chapter he wakes up in our world, and then he wakes up in this like fantasy world, and then he wakes up in our world, and and it's kind of, and I mean he's either being knocked out or whatever, or he's like dreaming or but it keeps constantly going back and forth, but like things. It's a really cool way to kind of parallel like the physical world and the spiritual world, and the way that they do it, and it's super well done. And I got to write the finale version, like the because they're all based on the Christian bracelet things with the green, red, black, and white.
So what would Jesus do bracelets?
Right. It's based on those. I mean, so like the first book is black.
Oh yeah. That's right.
So it's and but there's those. Okay, so what I was gonna say is when those came out, and this is like how big he was like at that time. When those came out, it was like the #1 graphic novel on Amazon.
Oh wow!
Like it beat out, which I think I'm trying to think like Marvel's or Kingdom Come or something like it actually like beat those out to be like #1. I was like, wow, this is bigger than I I knew it was going to be big. Because his fan base back then was like really rabid, and like I love him to death. I mean, he's a fantastic guy. He was even though like he and I are like we were like both like big Lost fans and all this other stuff, and we were both kind of like coming up in kind of the different artistic and entertainment industry stuff around the same time. He obviously did better than I did, but we were so excited when we got to work together because we had been like emailing and stuff for a while. And but the coolest thing is his default was to like talk to people about God. Like when he like saw me and he's like walking past like when I saw him in Tennessee for this big thing, he was walking past like his editor and his and like some other people and like some other writers and things that were there, and he's like, and there had been some really cool stuff, kind of like revival and different things happening in Florida, and he like Pat was like, when he got to his agent's house, he like kind of passed them. And he's like, and he just like pulled up a chair next to me. He's like, tell me what God's doing. Aww. And it was like, and it was just really, it's really cool for that. So it didn't surprise me. He's doing some YA kind of like kid stuff with his daughter now, actually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Writing stuff. But he kind of like at the height of his things when he was literally like making millions of dollars as a Christian author or a Christian who was an author that was starting to get really big. He walked away from it and pretty much said, you know, it's just like it's gotten too big, or I've gotten too big. I need to focus more on ministry and stuff like that. And so, you know, you have, I think that's the thing. Like you have these rare leaders who are focused on Christ enough, like Francis Chan and other people who, when they get so popular, that they will just be like, okay, this is too much about me now. Yeah. I kind of need to pull back, get out of the limelight and stuff like that. And just things like that definitely have affected me in the way that I try to carry myself and the way that I try to like relate to the people.
That's awesome.
That I work with and everything. And I said, and I had told him, I said, one of the things that really kept coming to me, because I really felt like we did phenomenal, especially the Lost Book things is one of the things that I'm most proud of, because there's so much, because I kind of got to oversee the production of the whole thing. Like I was writing it, and it was a massive deal. And like at that time, I don't think anybody had gotten like a 4 graphic novel deal, and I got the deal from, and it was Thomas Nelson at the time to do the adaptations, and they were really fighting for me, and they even were like, usually when you deal with those things, they're kind of like trying to get you to come down and make the budget, you know, more friendly or whatever. And they actually gave me a raise on that. Wow. And like paid me like an $800 more than what I had made previously with other stuff, in comparison, even though I had only done a couple of things with the other stuff. But I was just like, you know, it was cool because I really felt like it was, that I told him, because I just kept having this phrase that was coming to my head whenever I was working on it. It was like kind of like that God was teaching me to write in the name of another, and to not worry so much about like my name and everything that, you know, that you know, God's most important, or you know, and to kind of, you know, be willing to be a servant and stuff like that. And so, because especially with the Ted Decker stuff, because he was so big at that time, like his name was all up front, and then your name was like really small in the back with the other credit stuff. And this is, and I bring this up because this is podcast related and other stuff related. Okay. But
because
my buddies,
I don't mean to be rude, but I do want you to sort of wrap up here.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's this other really popular podcast called the Sneak Attack podcast. That is a RPG podcast thing. And they also have some other stuff. But anyways, I got mentioned in this one thing because I had sent in this message and said, man, I love this because it's a family friendly, which there are not that many family friendly role-playing game or D&D related podcasts out there. And I said, I really love it because my son was getting treatments at this like children's hospital thing, and we would be able to listen once a month when we were driving and stuff to do things like that. And I said, and the guy was such a Ted Decker fan that he knew my name.
Oh my gosh!
In the back of the thing,
and
crazy. I'm like, that's a pretty big thing. that's like recognizing people from the credits in a movie.
Right. That's like recognizing someone by their laugh in Disneyland. It's crazy.
Right. Exactly.
That's something that happened to Paul.
He's gonna hit something.
But thank you for sharing all that, GS. And that's so cool that you're getting to work on all these and you're continuing to work on all these. And thank you so much for gracing us with your thoughts and opinions on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and taking the time. Really appreciate that. And thank you to my good friend and fellow thief,
Merry Man,
Paul
Prince.
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 Yeah. Oh yeah, Prince, the Prince of the Merry Men,
Prince
Paul Paul J. Powers. Thank you. Yeah, .com. And thank you all to our rewinders, new or old, for another fun voyage.
You're welcome. And you can find me, pauljpowers.com, at pauljpowers.com.
And you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
Thank you, Nathan. And as Nathan just said, we are now part of the Culture Box Media Network. Find all the shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media. With that, Captain, it looks like we need to wait for the next riddle to unlock if this was the correct way to go to begin with.
I know, I sure hope it was, Paul, but thank you, Exo, and thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play, but like in Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for the next episode. Hopefully, if it unlocks, if the riddle is right, we'll find out next time and help us in our ship's logs for the next riddle of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Fourth dimension of Doom mission complete. Decoding next riddle. View RRP ship's logs for more details.
Now get out of it. We waste good celebration time.
I forgot that was Mike Tragic Maker.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just him looking at the camera. We waste enough of it. We waste because celebration. Why are you talking to the camera? You're not Ferris Bueller. Okay. Anyway.